What's a dong move you still haven't quite gotten over? I moved in with my dad and stepmom the last 2.5 years of high school after not having a steady relationship with them for most of my life. I have tons of stories, but probably the worst thing they did was the last Christmas I lived with them. They made plans to take their kids to visit family in Colorado and told me I had to find somewhere else to stay while they were gone. I asked why I wasn't invited and they said that they didn't think I'd want to miss work. I stayed with a friend from work that had her own place. I called them on Christmas and left a message saying Merry Christmas. Didn't get any response. I called the day they were supposed to be back in town and they informed me they didn't actually go out of town. Their plans fell through. They just never bothered to tell me. Obviously they didn't want me around, but it was extremely hurtful and I feel like I'll never get over their treatment of me. We haven't talked in 11 years other than for a few minutes at my grandma's funeral, and I avoid them if I see them in public. ETA. I moved in with them because I became a ward of the state due to my mom's neglect and drug use. Not because of anything I did. I thought I'd rather go there than a foster home with strangers. Seriously, frick these people. When I was younger, my mom, aunt, and I would have a weekly girls' night out where we would go out and eat and run some errands. We were eating at Pizza Hut and 8 or 9ish year old me was telling my mom and aunt about something I was obviously really excited about. Boy bands, Titanic, Pokemon. Heck if I know because I've slept since then. My aunt proceeded to interrupt me, look me dead in the eyes, and said, J7X, no one cares. I may not remember what I was so excited about, but I'll always remember how that sentence made me feel. Made me very hesitant to talk to people about my interests for a long time. My best friend got cheated on by his girlfriend. I was there for him the entire time, but when they got back together she said she didn't like my influence. He still hasn't talked to me since. Really miss the dude. She's probably very manipulative and he probably misses you too. It's really hard to set your foot down when you're in a toxic relationship. Give him time. He might come back when he frees himself of her balls. A buddy in high school wanted to borrow my guitar. I had gotten a new Les Paul Studio as a gift and didn't play my old Fender Strat as much, so he asked to borrow the Strat. Several weeks go by without me asking about it or anything until one day all our other bandmates keep giggling and whispering around me and I finally ask what's up. Ends up that he traded my guitar for a far shittier Epiphone semi-hollow body to some douche. I was furious and asked him to trade it back and he said the dude he traded with had moved away. I wanted to badly to beat him down until my fists were broken, but he was a 5-year friend and I just couldn't. He offered me the Epiphone and I told him I didn't want it. We continued to play in the same band together until we all graduated and I haven't really spoke much to him since. I hope he thinks about what he did sometimes and realizes what a dong move it was. A bunch of friends and I were going to a concert out of state. We, on my credit card, rented a van just big enough to seat all of us. At the last minute another good friend of ours shows up with a ticket and wants to go but doesn't drive. So I tell him frick it, me and you can take my car and we'll just convoy it up. The next morning I roll up to his house to pick him up and no answer. Wait for 30 minutes and finally call the other friends to see if they'd heard from him. He was in the van with them on the way and had told them I decided to drive by myself so he could have my seat in the van. Should have reported it stolen. One of my good friends in high school went around showing all her friends I was obsessed with her and showed them her call logs. I called her multiple times because she said she was going to kill herself. Hope you stopped talking to her right then and there. Kids in high school are dongs. I was a new and naive salesperson for a tech company. After working months to land a huge federal sales deal, my boss took the account for himself 2 weeks before it closed. I got half commission for the first order and nothing for the millions in orders that followed. It literally cost me $1 million. My high school crush and I went on 3 dates. On the last one we finally kissed. My first. I walked her home. She said this was fun. Let's do it again. Then she went around telling everyone she knew how awful it was and how she hated me. Teenagers can be horrible people. Alright, This was back in 1994 to 1995 or something like that, so no internet or online delivery purchases. Also, I don't live in a country where it was easy to find geeky stuff. Me and my best friend, both 13 years old, went out to the big city to see a movie and visit some geeky stores to buy D&D products. Right before we had to leave to get back home, we see this small store and some big boxes in front of it. We go in and see they just got a huge shipment. We were out of money at this point. We talk to this nice store owner and he says we can pick whatever we want and he will put it aside for us to come pick it up the next day. We each chose like 5 things, not the same stuff, so we could share it afterwards with each other, and got back home. We asked my dad to get to the store and pick it up the next day. Around noon I get a call from my dad, who drove there just for this. He said, I got to the store but the owner said that the other kid and his dad were there right when he opened and already took the package. Being naive, I called my friend and told him, why didn't you tell me you are going there? I would have told my dad not to go. Never mind, when can I come over to give you the money and take my half? To this he replied, it's all mine. I bought it, hung up the phone and never talked to him again. Your dad should have sorted that out with his dad. I bet your friend's dad didn't know you were supposed to share them and wouldn't have been happy if he knew how his kid behaved. My father was a delusional prick who would beat me for things I didn't do, often in front of my other siblings, especially things I supposedly did to my youngest sibling who was clearly his favorite. My youngest sibling bought into this favoritism hook, line and sinker and grew up into a lying, waifing pose who would then feed him lies about things I did, so he could come and beat me some more. I don't know who I am more mad at, my father for feeding her this bulls all through adulthood, so he created the cancer, or my sister who I knew was smart enough to know it was fricked up, who decided to join in on the kill you best garbage person game. I'm no contact with all of them. I honestly cannot remember all the horrible things they did to me. It's like I've forgotten in order to survive. Go beat up your dad. For my graduation, I was so excited for my extended family to come out because we'd been talking about it for months. We get closer to the date, and they say they definitely can't come because money is tight. I'm sad, but I get it. Fast forward to the day before graduation and I see pictures of all of them on vacation in Arizona, not where they're from. I cried a lot that day, and still get really upset when I think about it. This is fairly fresh but I don't see it fading anytime soon. I'm currently in uni, and I'm spending the summer off campus for an internship. It was far more practical to leave most of my belongings in storage than take them with me. I arranged for a storage service to come and pick up my stuff. Due to the high number of pickups that were occurring at a time, the first pickup time I was able to get was the day after I was scheduled to leave. Not a big deal. I could get my roommate to sign for the pickup. Or if he couldn't do it I could easily arrange for a friend to be in my apartment. Easy as pie. So I asked my roommate and he said he'll possibly be able to be there. I gave him another day, asked him again, and he said that yes, he would be able to sign for it. Flash forward a few days, and I have left and am expecting that everything will be going smoothly with all of my belongings. I text him later in the day to check that there weren't any problems, and got floored by his response. He had left that morning, under pressure from his parents or something, before the pickup was scheduled to take place, and therefore had not been there to sign for it. His solution was to move everything that I was planning on storing into the street with a note on it saying that these were the boxes that should be picked up. He did nothing to verify whether that actually happened. We lived in an area where burglaries are fairly common. At least 2 a month were reported within a few block radius of our place, so I wouldn't put it past a passerby to run off with something. I called the service to see if they had been able to pick up my belongings, and they said they had. The thing they haven't been able to tell me yet is how many boxes were picked up. So it's a possibility that several boxes of my belongings, each of which contains items with either significant monetary or sentimental value, was stolen because my roommate left them in the street for several hours. What makes this so infuriating is how easily it could have been avoided. If he had just said he couldn't do it, I could have had someone else be there. I'm hoping that I'll get an invoice detailing how many boxes were picked up soon, but there's a chance I might not know for certain until I move into my apartment for the fall. If something was stolen, I'll have to wait until they deliver whatever they did pick up, and it's a crapshoot what might be missing. My office celebrated my birthday on a hot day with ice cream cake. I found out about it when I returned to the office later that day after helping clean up outside. They didn't even save me a slice. ETA, they told me it was for my birthday. I'm not making any assumptions. I got home from school one day to see my neighbor's kid playing with my WWF wrestling figures. The cardboard box I kept them in was right there with him on his lawn a couple doors down from mine. I knew they were my toys. I went inside and asked my dad how he got them. My dad gave them to him. I started crying and he hit me for crying. I found out later he was cheating on my mom with this kid's mom. My aunt taking a piece of fried chicken away from my plate arguing I was too fat, had eaten enough. I was just like 6 years old, but I felt so upset I stood from the table and went to sit in the car. It happened about 30 years ago, and I can't get over it. I'm a psychic and your palms are telling me that you are 36 years of age. Context: I have cerebral palsy, but am fortunate enough to be able to walk. One day, the other kids were playing dodge at recess and I wanted to be included. Of course, the popular kids put me on the crappy team, for obvious reasons. Naturally, it wasn't long before I was eliminated. Oh well, I was having a good time. Normally, when you eliminate someone, you celebrate a bit. The kid who eliminated me started celebrating, and then one of his teammates says, "What's the big deal? Modulny isn't a big loss for them. Frick that guy." Modulny was a beast, though I'm a Canucks fan. Sorry Leafs guy, D. A friend of mine broke up another friend's marriage. For quick context, a girl I went to high school with, we'll say Kate, got married to a guy a few years above us, Dan. They were going along pretty steadily. We had the kind of relationship you have with old high school friends. Friendly with the occasional hangouts now and again, but you don't chat every day or maintain a ton of contact. One night I'm playing a gig out at a local venue when Kate shows up and says hey. I hadn't seen her in a while, so it was a pleasant surprise, though it became apparent that Kate had actually come to see my friends, Tom, band, and didn't even know I'd be there. No matter. I didn't even know Tom and Kate knew each other, but she clarified they'd been working together. I didn't think anything of it. Fast forward a few hours and I'm at home in bed. My phone rings and I see Dan's the one calling. Instantly I know something's up because Dan never calls me, ever. I answer and he asks, "Hey, is Kate with you? Could you put her on?" She won't answer her phone. Half asleep. I'm confused and ask why she'd be with me. Instantly I can hear panic fill his voice. Apparently Kate had been telling him all night that she was hanging out with me and that we'd gone out for drinks with the bands afterwards. I told him the last time I saw her she was with Tom at the venue. Apparently she'd been hanging out with him a lot, and for me to validate his concerns without even knowing their backstory, it confirmed that she'd been cheating on him. Turns out over the last few months Tom had been slowly working his way in on Kate and sleeping with her when she'd gone off to see bands. Since Kate wouldn't answer her phone, I went with Dan to Tom's house so Dan could at least get some closure that his wife was cheating on him and not actually dead on the side of the road somewhere. Needless to say, Tom did not open up. The fun part is the next morning Tom told me I was a dong for spilling on him and letting Dad know where he lived. "You frick, how dare you tell Kate's husband where I live whilst I'm sleeping with her? How inconsiderate." My brother literally pulled the rug out from under me when I was about 7. I hit my face on the wall and instantly broke my nose. I'm 32 now and have a crooked nose. When I was in 3rd grade, I did something wrong. A girl had written her name on her project and my 8-year-old self decided I would write "is not cool" after her name on her project. In grade 3, this was quite the crime. Anyway, I did it and didn't get in trouble for it right away, so upon returning from lunchtime, outside playtime, I was told I had left my sweater down on the playground and it was in the office. I get to the office and am ushered into the principal's office. 8-year-old me doesn't put 2 and 2 together that this has to do with what I had done earlier. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday and I'm 21 years old. The principal asked me if I knew what I had done wrong and I responded with "lost my jacket" wholeheartedly, as that was what I was told I was there for. Then she said, "No, don't lie, alpaca whisperer, you're here cause of what you wrote on your classmate's project. to which I fessed up right away. But for some freaking reason, the principal told my parents and teacher that I lied to them about doing it. This isn't even the worst of it all. Coming up in a few weeks was what probably would have been the highlight of my elementary school days. A sleeping with the whales field trip where our class got to sleep in the beluga whale viewing room at the aquarium. And my teacher suggested to my parents not letting me go as punishment. I was so upset. I still have the diary entry from that day. I said the F word in it. I was 8. I remember being so livid with my parents because I didn't lie to them. I'm so pissed about this still. Like I said, I'm 21 now. I said sorry to the girl. The girl said she didn't even care. God dang it. I was doing some creative writing in my high school math class. The teacher noticed me scribbling notes down more than usual, so she asks me what I'm doing. Shy and embarrassed, I lie and tell her that I was just writing down what she said. She walks over, reads what I've written, rips it out of my notebook, calls me a liar in front of the whole class, and then rips the pages up and throws the shreds in my face. Thanks for that memory, Kristen Love. B. Dude, WTF, a lot of teachers seem to be straight psychopaths. I left my old apartment for a 4-month school, asking my then roommate to watch my cat for the 4 months, and as soon as I had graduated I would come back for the cat. He agreed, with what seemed to be no problems at all. Halfway through this school, I get a call from my best friend's girlfriend asking me if I'm angry, or if there's anything she can do to help. I was like, WTF are you talking about? She asked me if I had talked to my roommate or ex-girlfriend yet. I said no, and called them next. Long story short, he called my ex-girlfriend, who I had gotten the cat with, but the cat no longer lived with her, nor did she have any financial ownership of this cat, and asked if he could get rid of the cat, because he didn't want to watch over it anymore. She agreed, and so he took my cat to a nearby base, and let it run free with the other feral cats. Thank God I never got him declawed. R.I.P. Simba, you were the coolest cat I knew. Also, after this dude has the freaking gall to ask me for closing costs on the apartment that he was leaving just as I was graduating. I had left 4 months prior to. Had to use my boyfriend's, at the time, car for my driver's test. He slept in and didn't answer his phone. Showed up 45 minutes late to my house and said that's what you get for relying on me. The relationship didn't last much longer after that. Kind of surprised it didn't just end there. Such disregard is infuriating. I was in 3rd grade and it was hot dog day. My friend and I decided to buy more chocolate milk, so we went down to the activity room where they were selling it. On the way I was hit by a heavy metal door opening and I went flying sideways across the hall. It was a teacher's aide who had opened the door. I remember lying there stunned and crying from the pain as people gathered around me, and the teacher's aide was saying she was just flying down the hall at 90 miles an hour. First of all, I hadn't been, even at age 8. I realized that even if I had been running, how would she know that? The door hit me before she even saw me, and it was just an accident. I knew she didn't hit me with door on purpose. So while I remember telling my mom, who sort of understood and was like there kind of thing. I remember feeling defeated that no one would believe me over a teacher's aide, and an adult lied. That was a first for me. Ugh. Even 32 years later that irritates me. What a jerk. I think there's a point in every kid's life where something happens that makes you realize that adults are just as crappy as your fellow kids, they just know how to get away with it. When I was in 8th grade getting promoted to go to high school, my mom said to ride with my friends to the venue and she's meet me there and have dinner together. An hour or so later she got so high she forgot about me and fell asleep. I didn't think she forgot at first, but I ended up waiting outside the venue for the promotion ceremony for 2 hours until it got dark. I decided to walk home, and as I got to the driveway I see her run out, get in the car and drive right past me. I didn't see her until the next day. I went to my room and cried until I fell asleep. Still stop and think about it once in a while. I feel that strained my relationship with my mom. It was 18 years ago and I still can't get over it. I know how you feel. I was going from primary to secondary school and my mom said she'd take me. However, 3 days before it, she walked out on our dad and my dad took me instead. My mom and I keep in contact barely. I know she wants a relationship with me, but the effects of what happened when I was 12, I never really got over it. Still haven't 16 years later. We were in France, and my older brother had gotten a bottle of wine. He let everyone try it, but when I asked he blatantly said no. I know it seems minor, but we've been falling out lately, and this was kind of the icing on the cake. I still try to keep the relationship with him, because he's family and all, but he's done nothing to reciprocate for almost 2 years. He's not worthy of you maintaining a relationship. Family doesn't automatically deserve your time and love. Was having a hard time mental health wise. Had a minor meltdown at work that was witnessed by a supervisor. I wasn't violent, just upset and crying. I wound up taking a few weeks off work and going into the hospital. Apparently, the supervisor went and told other co-workers while I was gone, and I was treated with hostility by most for years afterwards. They couldn't fire me for having mental health issues, so they just made me feel like crap until I went away. IDK if it's the same in the US, but in my country they legally can't fire you for this kind of thing, so some basically harass you and try to do everything so you leave on your own because they can't fire you. Still glad it never happened to me. My technical school, high school level, but a year longer and gives a job qualification, had an extremely homophobic staff. I was told that I have to cut my long hair because they don't want to associate with that. I'm a guy, but I'm not gay. Actually, you know how kids are. No one is telling me what to do, and the school had no power to force me to change my hairstyle. They tried to claim it's part of the school dress code, but I went around that by keeping it in a ponytail. Then they decided, alright, be what you want, but you're barred from entry to school events. I agreed just to have a peace of mind. At that point I was 2 years into this war. Then comes the final year, final grades. My favorite teacher looks at my grades and says, I'd like to give you the highest grade, but it says in the rules that you have to have some effort or work done in the name of the school, but you didn't attend any events. So, I was livid and am still p. I felt like Caesar, since I really freaking liked the teacher. He gave me 1 grade below perfect even though I worked my butt off, based on some freaking technicality that barely anyone abides to. Frick that guy and frick that school. That hairstyle costed me my trust and respect to authority, and I still keep it long. Every time I shorten it I feel like there's a lesson I will lose if I cut too much. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.